There's a rule you've been obeying your whole life, without even realizing it. It's not written in any law, not preached in any religion, but it controls you more than both. They whispered it into your ears since you were a child. Be nice, be polite, be agreeable. They told you it makes you a good person, but they lied. Because that niceness, it was never about being good, it was about making you easy to control. Every system of power throughout history, from empires to corporations, learned the same truth. Polite people don't rebel. People who want to be liked never rise. Machiavelli once said, "If you want to command, stop trying to be loved." He saw nations crumble, not because of enemies, but because of men too scared to say no. Men who thought being liked meant being respected. Men who were too soft to lead and too agreeable to survive. That's why he wrote the book that terrified kings and got banned by the church, because it revealed their ultimate weapon. Niceness is a leash. And guess what? You're still wearing it. Still smiling when you're insulted. Still apologizing when you've done nothing wrong. Still saying yes when your soul is screaming no. But if you look closely at every powerful man, the leaders, the conquerors, the ones who bend the world, they all have one thing in common. They're not afraid to be disliked. They don't chase approval. They command respect. Drop this in the comments. I'd rather be feared than controlled. And now, if you're tired of begging, tired of reaching, tired of planning without progress, then you're ready. But this isn't motivation, this is self-conquest. So subscribe now and don't miss a single tip that makes you powerful and unstoppable. And now they'll tell you that being rude makes you evil, that if you don't bow, you're arrogant, cold, heartless. But they said the same thing about every great man who refused to kneel. That's the playbook. Demonize the strong, glorify the submissive. Here's the truth. Machiavelli tried to hand you. You can't be powerful and pleasing at the same time. Pick one. Because the moment you stop needing to be liked, you unlock something terrifying. Freedom, danger, authenticity. This isn't self-help. This is war strategy. A manual for killing the weakest part of you, that smiling, obedient little servant. The one who's more afraid of rejection than failure. You weren't born to be agreeable. You were born to be formidable. So kill the people pleaser inside you. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Because the longer he lives, the more of you dies. There's a sickness spreading among modern men. It doesn't bruise your body, it breaks your will. It makes you intelligent, but compliant. Sharp, but silent. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than to be loved if you cannot be both." And he would have called this sickness exactly what it is, a political disease disguised as a virtue. Drop this in the comments. I kill the servant, I become the master. Most men, they don't even realize they're infected. They walk around thinking their politeness is virtue, their silence, maturity, their self-sacrifice, nobility. But behind that mask, here's the ugly truth. People-pleasing is fear, wearing a smile. This disease, it doesn't hit you as an adult. It starts way earlier. The first time you got punished for saying no. The first time someone said stop being difficult. The first time they rewarded you for staying quiet. That's when the infection began. You were taught young that approval equals safety, that making others uncomfortable makes you bad, that conflict is danger and harmony is holy. So you adapted. You swallowed your anger. You silenced your instincts. You traded your desires for anything that kept the peace. At first it was just a habit, then it turned into a belief, and eventually it became your identity, and the world clapped for it. Such a good boy. so polite, so easy to work with. But they weren't praising you. They were praising the disease, because it made you predictable, because it made you harmless, because it made you someone who would never dare to challenge them. Machiavelli once said, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him." What kind of men do you think the rulers prefer? Harmless ones. Drop this in the comments. No more smiling fear. By the time you're grown, the disease is fully matured. It's no longer loud, it's silent. It hides inside the tiny things, the things you do without even thinking. You apologize when you've done nothing wrong, not because you feel guilty, but because it's reflex now, a programmed reaction. You agree with people you don't even respect, just to avoid that awkward tension in the air. You keep dead relationships alive, not because they fulfill you, but because you're more scared of being alone than being unhappy. You work harder than everyone else, but speak up less than anyone else. You tolerate disrespect. You endure delays. You smile through insults. And you whisper to yourself, "It's not a big deal." But everything becomes not a big deal until one day you wake up and realize your whole life is just a long chain of not a big deals. And what about the people around you? The ones you've bent over backward to please? They don't become kinder, they become bolder, because this disease doesn't earn you respect. It only signals one thing: he won't fight back. Machiavelli once said, "Men in general judge more from appearances than from reality. All men have eyes, but few have the gift of penetration. And what they see is someone they can push. Because the disease doesn't make others kinder to you, it makes them bolder with you. You think your niceness earns you points. You think people admire it, but they don't. They interpret it. When you can't say no, they don't see kindness. They see no boundaries. When you avoid conflict, they don't think you're mature. They think you're weak. When you're always the first to help, they assume your time means nothing. And when you're too available, they assume you're not important. Because people don't respond to kindness. They respond to cost, to consequence, to boundaries. A man without boundaries, he doesn't get respect. He begs for it, usually without even realizing it. That's the fatal flaw of the people pleaser. He tries to buy respect with kindness. But kindness is free. And what's free has no value. The world doesn't reward generosity. It rewards scarcity. Not agreeableness, but resolve. Not softness, but strength. And here's the kicker. Even the people pleaser knows this. That's why he feels drained, disrespected, invisible, because he's living inside a moral fantasy while everyone else is out here, playing in reality. Machiavelli once said, "It is double pleasure to deceive the deceiver." And society? It's been deceiving the pleaser for centuries. Drop this in the comments. Kindness without boundaries is weakness. The people pleaser isn't just being nice, he's addicted to approval, addicted to peace, addicted to avoiding discomfort. Every time he says yes, he gets a little hit of relief, a quick high that whispers, "At least no one's upset with me." But the cost? Long-term spiritual decay. He trades self-respect for temporary harmony. He trades integrity for temporary approval. He trades his future just to feel safe in the present. And the worst part, he thinks it makes him a good man. He thinks he's being noble, but there's nothing noble about being weak, nothing moral about smiling through lies, nothing righteous about sacrificing yourself for people who wouldn't even blink to sacrifice you. Then comes the breaking point, because every people pleaser reaches that moment when the polite mask cracks and the buried rage starts leaking out. See, behind every overly nice man is someone packed with years of silent resentment, not because others hurt him, but because he never protected himself, That's the real disease. Not a cruel world mistreating you, but you letting it happen. And once you finally see it for what it is, you can't unsee it. Machiavelli once said, "He who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived." Don't be that someone anymore. Niceness doesn't protect you. It exposes you. Because the world, it doesn't see your niceness as virtue. It sees it for what it really is. An unspoken signal that you have no defenses. A polite man thinks he's being moral, but everyone else reads him as one thing, someone who won't fight back. And human beings, all of them, are instinctively drawn to the path of least resistance. It's not evil, it's nature. And the people pleaser, he's always that path. You'll see it everywhere. He's the one staying late after everyone else clocks out. The friend who adjusts his life while no one even considers adjusting theirs. The partner who pours out constant reassurance but gets none in return. Not because he's unloved, but because he's disrespected. Respect is built on boundaries. Niceness, it's built on the absence of them. And a man without boundaries, he doesn't get seen as a man. He gets used like a tool, picked up when needed, set aside when not, because the people pleaser has it backwards. He believes kindness will earn him gratitude, but in reality, kindness without cost creates entitlement. Machiavelli once said, "One must be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves." Right now, you're acting like prey. Drop this in the comments. No more free kindness. When you give too freely, people don't think, "Wow, he's so generous." They think, "He'll do it again." The first favor feels like appreciation. The 10th becomes expectation. By the 30th, it's an unspoken requirement. And the moment you even pause, the moment you hesitate to give, they look at you like you've broken a contract, one they never had to sign. Because niceness doesn't just please people, it conditions them. It trains them to believe your time is always available, your energy is always accessible, your tolerance is infinite, your resistance doesn't exist. And once someone gets used to that version of you, they won't just step back when you try to change. They'll get offended. They'll push back. They'll say you've changed, but you haven't changed. You're just stopping the performance they were benefiting from. See, humans are wired for hierarchy. We sense power levels long before we understand them. And a man who never pushes back, never asserts himself, never creates friction, he gets placed at the bottom. Not because people hate him, but because he signals that he belongs there. Because people respond to signals, not intentions. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. And if what you appear to be is weak, that's all they'll ever see." Drop this in the comments. No more invisible contracts. Look at the people who truly command respect. They aren't rude for the sake of it. They're just unafraid of disappointing people. And that's the difference. They don't chase approval, so when they speak, it carries weight. They don't cling to harmony, so when they act, it has force. They don't fear conflict, so their boundaries stay firm. Even their silence feels stronger than a people-pleaser's enthusiastic yes. People think confidence earns respect. It doesn't. Consequence does. Because if crossing you has no consequence, you don't command respect. You just wish for it. People don't respect what's safe. They respect what's stable, what's firm, what's unmovable. Niceness is none of these. Niceness bends. Niceness yields. Niceness absorbs the blow and then smiles afterward. But once someone realizes you can take a hit without ever striking back, they stop seeing you as someone who could ever hit back. Machiavelli once said, "It is much safer to be feared than loved when one of the two must be lacking." And safe doesn't mean soft, it means untouchable. Drop this in the comments. No consequence, no respect. There's always a moment, a breaking point, when the people-pleaser finally sees what he's done to himself. It looks like exhaustion on the surface, but it's way deeper. It's the realization that his entire personality was built to avoid one thing: disappointing others. He sees how many times he said yes when he meant no, how many times he showed up for people who didn't value him, how many times he tolerated words and actions that any stronger man would have walked away from. And the anger, it doesn't go toward the people who used him, it turns inward, toward himself, for allowing it. That resentment, it's a sign. The old identity is dying, the mask is cracking, and the truth is finally leaking through. Because here's the brutal twist. A man who pleases everyone eventually faces the one person he pleased the least himself. Niceness got him used. Why? Because the world only respects the man who respects himself. And self-respect, it's not loud, it's not arrogant, it's not aggressive. It's the quiet power to say no without explaining, without apologizing, without shaking. It's refusing to betray yourself just to keep someone else comfortable. It's being willing to disappoint them before you ever disappoint you. Because niceness won't save you. Strength will. Boundaries will. Selective coldness will. Machiavelli once said, "Hatred is gained as much by good works as by evil." You might as well be strong enough to survive it. The moment you stop offering your life as a discount service, the world will adjust. Not willingly, not gracefully, but inevitably. Because people only stop using you when you stop being usable. See, rudeness has been demonized for a reason. Not because it's immoral, not because it's dangerous, but because it's a threat to every system that survives on your obedience. Since you were a kid, they drilled it into your brain. Being rude is the worst thing you can be. Not a liar, not a manipulator, not a coward. Rude, the slightest firmness, punished, the tiniest flicker of a spine, called attitude. They weren't afraid of you being cruel. They were terrified of you learning how to say no without apology, because a man who can say no cannot be controlled. And that's what real rudeness is at its core, the refusal to accommodate. It's the rejection of this unspoken rule that you must be pleasant at all times. It's the willingness to disappoint others on purpose, and that, more than anything, is what makes it dangerous. Because the world doesn't bend for the agreeable, it bends for the unyielding. Machiavelli once said, "A man who wishes to make a profession of goodness in everything must inevitably come to grief among so many who are not good." So stop trying to be the exception. The world doesn't bend for the agreeable, it bends for the unyielding. The people who get what they want, they're not the ones who make everyone feel comfortable, they're the ones who make themselves impossible to ignore. A firm tone, that's read as strength. A direct statement, that's heard as authority. A simple no, that's felt as danger. Even the smallest act of blunt honesty shifts the entire psychological dynamic. People stop assuming, they stop demanding, they start recalculating, because suddenly you're not predictable, you're not pliable, you're not safe. And human beings, they respect what they can't predict. That's why rudeness feels like power, not because of the sharp words, but because of the boundary behind them. You've seen it your whole life. The coworker who says, "I won't be doing that," gets treated like he's in charge, while the one who agrees to everything gets stepped over. The man who refuses an invitation gains intrigue. The one who says yes to everything gets taken for granted. The woman who says, "This doesn't work for me," is respected. The one who stays silent is forgotten. Nobody says it out loud, but everyone feels it. The person who refuses is the person with value, and the person with value is never ignored. Machiavelli once said, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few really know what you are. So show them something they can't ignore. Drop this in the comments. My boundaries speak louder than words." Real rudeness, the kind they fear, is nothing more than the courage to prioritize yourself openly. It's not theatrics, not cruelty, not aggression, it's clarity. A man willing to be blunt sends a terrifying message. He can't be manipulated by guilt. And guilt, that's society's favorite weapon. Guilt keeps you polite. Guilt keeps you small. Guilt is the leash around your neck. But the moment guilt stops working on you, the whole system collapses. Suddenly, you're the one people adjust to. And here's the psychological secret nobody teaches. People tolerate rudeness from the powerful, but punish it in the weak. If a leader snaps, it's called intensity. If a dominant man speaks bluntly, it's called confidence. But if a timid man does the same, they call it disrespect. Why? Because strength legitimizes rudeness. Weakness doesn't. That's why kindness elevates a powerful man but destroys a weak one. Because when power is kind, it's seen as a gift. But when weakness is kind, it's seen as a strategy. And no one respects a man who's nice because he has to be. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." So choose strength first, love can follow. The powerful man's kindness is a choice. The weak man's kindness is a survival mechanism. One is respected, the other is taken advantage of. Rudeness changes everything. It sends a clear and loud message to the world. My kindness is optional now, not automatic. It introduces friction, and friction that forces people to reevaluate how they treat you. Because when you speak bluntly, you raise the cost of interaction. When you refuse politely, you raise the cost even more. And when you state your boundaries without sugarcoating or apology, you raise the cost to its rightful level. Suddenly, you're no longer the discount version of yourself, you're full price. That's why rudeness feels like liberation. Because for the first time ever, you stop begging for dignity and start enforcing it. But here's the twist. Most people aren't ready for this new version of you. They expect the old model, the agreeable one, the soft one, the one they could predict, manipulate, and walk over. And when they face your new tone, they'll say you're rude, they'll call you difficult, they'll whisper arrogant. But pay attention, they're not describing your behavior, they're describing their loss of access. Because rudeness is what happens when you lock the doors they once walked through freely, and once they realize you're no longer afraid of disappointing them, the game changes. Machiavelli once said, "Men sooner forget the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony." Take back your power, it was never theirs to claim. Once they realize you're no longer afraid of disappointing them, the game changes. And then they adjust. They start thinking twice before asking. They pull back their demands. They approach with caution. They treat your time like it matters. They weigh their words more carefully. They become more respectful, not because you became nicer, but because you became someone they know they can't push. That's the true power of rudeness. It restores the balance. It brings you back to yourself. It signals that your life is no longer a public resource. You stop being the cushion that absorbs every blow, and you become the wall that won't move. And in a world built on pressure, expectation, and silent demands, there is nothing more powerful than the man who simply refuses to bend. But let's be clear, learning to be disagreeable doesn't mean becoming hostile. It means reclaiming the authority you gave away without even realizing it. They taught you that being easy to work with made you admirable, that being flexible made you mature, that being endlessly patient made you virtuous. But the truth, it's simpler and far more brutal. The man who fears disagreement fears himself, and the man who fears himself can never become powerful. Machiavelli once said, "He who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived." Don't be that someone. Drop this in the comments. I refuse to bend. The first step to becoming formidable is understanding something most never do, is understanding that conflict is not a threat, it is information. Most people don't avoid disagreement because they're peaceful. They avoid it because they're fragile. They crumble when challenged. They panic when their approval feels at risk. They retreat the moment tension rises, as if tension itself proves they've done something wrong. But it doesn't. That's the conditioning you must destroy. You must learn to stand in the fire, not run from it. Let people get irritated, let them misunderstand you, let them feel disappointed. Their emotions are not your responsibility, their expectations are not your instructions, their reactions are not your burden. You were not born to manage other people's comfort. You were born to protect your sovereignty. And once you strip away that instinct to immediately appease, something strange happens. You begin to notice how rarely conflict actually becomes dangerous. Because here's the truth. What you feared wasn't real. The conflict wasn't the threat. Your imagination was. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to act and regret than not to act and regret." So take the heat. Power is forged there. And once you finally face it, you realize something brutal. You realize you were living under a spell cast by your own insecurity. But now, it's time for the next stage, practicing blunt honesty, not cruelty, not emotional violence, just truth, delivered without the sugarcoating you've used your whole life. This doesn't work for me. I'm not available. That's not my responsibility. I disagree. Simple sentences, but for the people pleaser, they feel like dropping bombs, and in a way, they are. They destroy the old you, the version that relied on softness to survive. They break the cycle everyone counted on. They shatter the illusion that your compliance is guaranteed. And yes, you will feel guilt at first. You'll feel the panic to over-explain, to soften your tone, to apologize for simply saying what's true. Don't collapse. Don't fall back into that old reflex. Don't dilute your truth just to make it easier to swallow. Their emotions are not your project. Their comfort is not your job. Your only job is to speak the truth. And truth requires simplicity. Machiavelli once said, "A man who seeks the approval of everyone will never achieve the respect of anyone." Over time, a new identity begins to form, an identity that no longer uses politeness as a shield. You start choosing silence over people-pleasing. You start prioritizing your own comfort over the comfort of those who drain you. You stop volunteering for every task. You stop accepting invites just to be liked. You stop nodding along when your mind is screaming disagree. And slowly, quietly, without asking for permission, you become someone shaped not by external demands, but by internal standards. And people will notice. Some will respect you more, others will resent you. And those who once fed off your softness will call you different, cold, rude, selfish. Let them, because here's the truth. When you stop sacrificing yourself for others, they won't call it growth, they'll call it betrayal. But that's not a sign you've done something wrong. It's a sign you've stopped doing something wrong. Machiavelli once said, "He who seeks to please all will lose himself in the process." Drop this in the comments. I'm done asking for permission. The real transformation begins when you realize something radical. Disagreeableness, your willingness to stand firm, to say no, to face conflict head-on, is the foundation of all power. Every strong leader, every respected figure, every man whose presence carries weight, they all have this in common. They are willing to create friction. They don't chase peace. They don't soften their identity to fit the room. They let the room bend to them. And once you embody this, your entire aura changes. People speak to you differently. They pause before overstepping. They weigh their words. They treat your time like currency. They no longer assume that you'll agree, that you're available, that you're easy. You become someone who must be approached with intention, not assumption. And that is the essence of power. Being someone whose presence demands structure, being someone whose boundaries alter behavior, being someone whose reactions matter. Disagreeableness isn't darkness, it's clarity. It's the ability to walk through this world without betraying yourself. Machiavelli once said, "The man who shapes the world is the one who does not fear shaping discomfort." Drop this in the comments. I don't bend, I define. You're not becoming rude, you're becoming real. And the world, it only respects what is real. There comes a moment in every man's life when he realizes something deeply unsettling. Most of what he called kindness was never kindness. It was fear. It was strategy. It was a way to make the world less dangerous by making himself smaller. You softened your voice so you wouldn't offend. You said yes quickly so no one called you difficult. You silenced your needs so you wouldn't seem needy. And in doing so, you disappeared, little by little. But survival is not living. And a man who disappears long enough eventually realizes the world stopped seeing him at all. So when you begin killing the people-pleaser inside you, you must face one brutal truth. You spent years negotiating away pieces of yourself just to avoid conflict. You traded your fire for a moment of peace. You sold your dignity for cheap approval. You handed out your essence like free samples in a market. And now, you reclaim, not with apologies, not with guilt, but with clarity and coldness. You take back every boundary, every yes you never meant, every silence that should have been a roar. This is not rebellion, it's restoration. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared for your truth than loved for your illusion." The first thing you reclaim is your time. You stop handing it out like a consolation prize. You stop replying to every message like it's an emergency. You stop rearranging your entire day to accommodate someone who wouldn't do the same. And you begin asking the one question the people-pleaser never asks. Is this worth my life? Because time is life. And when you give it away freely, you're not being generous. You're donating your existence to people who haven't earned it. Then you reclaim your voice. Not that careful, quiet whisper you've been trained to use, your real voice. The one that speaks truth without trembling. You start saying, "I don't agree. This doesn't work for me. I'm not okay with that." You stop lying to avoid discomfort. You stop faking "I'm fine" when your gut's on fire. And just this honesty alone changes the entire dynamic. Because truth disrupts the script they've written for you. A script where you always comply, where you never confront, where you're always the cushion, never the wall. But the moment you speak from that untamed, untrained place inside you, the world adjusts. Machiavelli once said, "The voice of truth may be feared, but it is never forgotten." Drop this in the comments. My time is mine. Next, you reclaim something even deeper, your presence. You stop walking into rooms like a guest in your own life. You stop shrinking your posture just to seem non-threatening. You stop nodding along to ideas you don't believe in just to keep the peace. Your energy shifts from, "I hope I fit in," to, "I'm willing to stand alone." And people feel that shift instantly. Presence is not about speaking loudly. It's about existing fully. The world senses when you stop hiding from yourself. Then comes the difficult part. You reclaim your standards. The people pleaser has none. He accepts crumbs and calls them meals, tolerates disrespect and calls it patience, stays loyal to what's draining him and calls it virtue. But a man with standards, he starts filtering his world, not out of hate, but out of self-respect. He stops trying to keep everyone. He becomes selective, discerning. He walks away when something's not right, instead of negotiating in circles trying to fix what should have been refused from the start. Machiavelli once said, "He who lays down his worth for others to decide will be priced at nothing." This is where people begin to pull away. Not because you've become cruel, but because you've stopped being convenient. The moment you build standards, you start requiring effort from others. And effort? It exposes everything. The ones who vanish were never yours. They weren't loyal to your soul, just to your softness. Let them go. Let their silence echo. Let their absence make room for real connection. Because the people who stay, they treat you like a human, not a tool. But the most powerful thing you reclaim isn't them. It's something deeper, your inner permission. The permission to take up space, the permission to disappoint others, the permission to say no without guilt, the permission to choose yourself without apology. Because when you grant yourself that permission, you become untouchable, not in volume, not in attitude, but in essence. Machiavelli once said, "The man who does not value himself will always be at the mercy of those who don't either." Drop this in the comments. I choose myself without apology. When you finally grant yourself that permission, you become untouchable in a way no amount of bravado could ever create. You stop needing validation because now you validate yourself. You stop fearing abandonment because you no longer abandon yourself. This shift, it doesn't make you ruthless, it makes you sovereign. And a sovereign man, he's dangerous because he's no longer controlled by the emotions of others, the opinions of strangers, or the manipulations of those who fed off his compliance. Now, he's guided by internal laws, not external pressure. And when this version of you emerges, watch how the world reacts. The tone shifts, the room gets quieter. People start measuring their words. They become more careful, more respectful, more intentional. They stop walking into your life like it's public property. They don't make demands with the same entitlement. They don't assume your agreement. They feel it now, that you've grown a spine. And that spine, it comes with a cost. Machiavelli once said, "He who conquers himself is more powerful than he who conquers a kingdom." Drop this in the comments. I'm no longer available for disrespect. This is where power begins. Not power over others, but power over yourself. Because the man who can command himself can command his environment. And the man who commands his environment, he doesn't just survive, he reconstructs reality around his will. Eventually, in this transformation, a shift happens. Quiet, subtle, but undeniable. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop asking for permission from a world that never cared about your comfort. You stop translating your desires into polite whispers just to avoid threatening the weak. And what emerges is a man forged at the core, a man who acts from a center that cannot be bent, manipulated, or guilt-tripped. A man no longer reacting to emotions he didn't create. A man who doesn't flinch when the world frowns. A man who walks into the chaos of life and doesn't apologize for existing. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than to be loved if one cannot be both." Drop this in the comments. I command myself. This version of you doesn't shout. He doesn't need to. His power is quiet, cold, precise, sharpened by absence of fear, not fueled by aggression. He no longer wastes energy trying to be liked. He doesn't chase understanding. He doesn't soften truth to keep others comfortable. He simply is. And that isness alone shifts the entire room. People notice before you even speak. There's a new gravity to you, a weight behind your silence. You don't minimize your presence anymore. You don't rush to fill awkward gaps. You don't perform friendliness. You don't fake enthusiasm. Now, your stillness speaks louder than any version of you ever has, and the world senses it. You've stopped signaling weakness. You've become a mirror, one that reflects people back to themselves. The strong will respect you. The insecure will fear you. The entitled will resent you, but none of it touches you, because your worth isn't out there anymore. It's in here, locked behind your ribcage, untouchable. Machiavelli once said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves." Drop this in the comments. My silence is power. Being unapologetic doesn't mean you've stopped caring. It means you've stopped contorting. It means you no longer abandon yourself just to preserve a peace that always cost you too much. You don't fear being misunderstood anymore because you finally understand yourself. You don't fear being alone because you've learned to enjoy your own company. You don't fear disappointing others because you finally stop disappointing yourself. And this terrifies the world, because once you reach this point, they lose all leverage over you. They can't guilt you. They can't pressure you. They can't shame you into obedience. They can't twist your need for approval anymore, because you don't need it. You've stepped outside the psychological cage they spent your whole life building around you. And now you're free, and freedom, real freedom, because freedom makes you unpredictable, and what they can't predict, they can't control. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." And now, your relationships shift. You stop accepting half-effort, conditional respect, and people who only show up when they need something. Once they realize you won't beg, bend, or cling, they either step up or disappear. And their absence, it creates space for those who value your presence. Your decisions change. You stop playing small to keep others comfortable. You start building a life that reflects who you are, not who they prefer. Your standards rise. You stop over-explaining. You stop negotiating with people who don't deserve your time. You don't raise your voice. You simply walk away. Because now you choose yourself first. This is not rudeness. It's power. Not loud, undeniable. You've watched your old self die. And in his place stands a man the world can no longer mold, guilt, or control. But remember, transformation isn't a moment, it's a war. And every day you fight by choosing yourself. Machiavelli once said, "A man who neglects what is actually done for what should be done learns the way to self-destruction rather than self-preservation." Drop this in the comments. I choose myself first, fully, and forever. Because the rise of the unapologetic self is not a temporary spark. It's a permanent shift, a declaration that from this point forward, your life will no longer be dictated by approval, fear, or expectation, only by your will. If something in this journey woke you up, if a single sentence in this video cracked the shell you've been hiding in, if you felt the old version of you start to tremble, that means you're ready for what comes next. Stay with me. If it woke the part of you that refuses to die quietly, share it with someone who needs it, then like the video, subscribe to the channel, and take the next step. This is only the beginning.